Let me explain how to invest in a way that the girlies can understand. I was given this advice in 2018 when I was 22. And I had $5,000. Step 1, open a brokerage account. This is where you can trade money, and I did mine through Fidelity. Step 2, invest in an ETF. Which ETF and what is an ETF? Think of an ETF as a bag of candy. There's going to be some candies that you don't like and some that you do. Now, when we translate this to like actual terms, it is a portfolio of 500 companies invested in the stock market, like Apple, Microsoft, whatever that ETF holds. There's going to be different companies that are going to be doing well and some that aren't, and it usually levels out. If you're someone who is afraid of losing money, this is a really great alternative to growing your wealth without having to worry, because those companies will balance each other out usually. The ETF that you're going to invest in is VOO, VOO. That is the stock market ticker when you search it. I would just purchase it as market value price, because we're not going to mess with like buying it at a lower rate, higher rate. It does not matter at this point. Just when you have enough money, just continually add money to your brokerage account. The more money you have, the more money it will make. To give you an example, year to date so far, VOO has performed at 20%. And your high yield savings account is probably giving you between 3 to 4% right now. Super transparently, I had about $150,000 in the VOO, and I just recently got a financial advisor. I can't advise you on getting a financial advisor because I'm unsure if I even should have got one, because I was told that maybe you shouldn't get one until you've hit like a certain amount of wealth, and I may be still below it. But a part of me started having anxiety considering like I felt like I had just too much money in the stock market without anyone giving me advice. So I'll keep you updated on what my experience is with a financial advisor after a year. Follow me for more tips and tricks as we navigate our 20s. Bye.
Here are two of my favorite stocks for kids. And these are two companies that I believe will help pay for my 6-year-old niece to go to college. Now, before I tell you, I want you to know this. I did not grow up with a lot of money. I was actually the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I had to take out student loans. So the number one thing I wish my parents would have done for me was invest. The moment I was born, I would have wanted my parents to get my social security number, open an UGMA custodial brokerage account for me, and invest small amounts of money in the stock market each month. Little by little, even if they invested in the S&P 500 ETF, the top 500 stocks in America, I would have had a ton of money for college. Now, they didn't know how to do all of that back in the 1980s, but it's 2024 and I do. So I opened a custodial account for my niece Journey and started with $35 each month. And my favorite two stocks for her, and they are companies that everyone knows about, are Amazon and Apple. Two companies that combined are worth over $5 trillion. Two companies that combined over the past 2 years have doubled my money. While you may feel like it's too late, while you may feel like you're behind, the children in your life are not. Start small and build over time. Open a custodial account. Both Fidelity and Charles Schwab let you buy fractional shares. So if you have $10, you can start investing. So no more excuses. Let's go.
If you didn't know already, you can open a Roth IRA for your kids. Here's a step-by-step guide on how to open a custodial Roth IRA. Now, one thing to keep in mind before you look at this process and go through this process is your children have to have earned income to open a Roth IRA, meaning that they have to have income that they claim on a W-2. This can be from anything, mowing lawns to cleaning driveways or working at the local supermarket. And they can only contribute up to the amount that they earn. So if they earn $2,000 in a given year, they can contribute $2,000 into the Roth IRA, or you can contribute for them. If they earn $4,000, they can contribute to $4,000, and all the way up to the limit, which is $6,500 for 2023. So step one is choose a custodian. You have to choose a custodian for the account. This is a financial institution that will manage the account on behalf of your child. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, all great options. Step two is you're just going to gather the required information. You're going to fill out all the information on the application online. Step three is decide on your contribution amount. So keep in mind how much your child has earned for that given year, and you can contribute all the way up to $6,500. Step four is to complete the application and all the additional questions at that brokerage account. Step five is to fund the account. So you're going to connect your checking account or your child's checking account to that account and fund the account with the money. Then step six is to choose your investments. Long-term investing is the best thing for Roth IRAs. You can look at index funds, ETFs, all these different things, but do your research and make your own decisions. And that's it. Once you have all of those steps completed, you have a custodial Roth IRA open for your children. They can get that tax-free growth over their lifetime.
$2 million. I write my children checks, so my children have earned income.
This easy tax strategy many business owners miss. Listen up to make your kids tax-free millionaires. First, add your kids to payroll. You can pay them almost $14,000 per year. It's a deduction for you and they don't have to pay taxes. Step 2, set up a custodial Roth IRA for them and max it out at $6,000 per year. Do this for 5 years. It will be $30,000 and at retirement, it will be over $2 million.
Oh, check it out. One of the best ways to start saving and investing money for your children is to open them a custodial account. With a custodial account, you're able to start investing for your children. You feel me? You're able to start buying them stocks. You can gift them stocks. Your relatives, family members, grandparents, whoever also has the ability to gift that child cash or stocks. Now, there are 2 main types of custodial accounts. You have the UGMA, which stands for Uniform Gifts to Minors Act, and you have the UTMA, which is the Uniform Transfers to Minor Act. So both of the accounts are pretty much the same, but I personally prefer the UTMA account only because you're able to invest in REITs along with traditional stocks. So a REIT, which is an abbreviation for Real Estate Investment Trust, is a way for you to invest in real estate without physically owning real estate. Another great thing about custodial accounts is that a parent or guardian is in charge of that account until that child reaches the age of 18. This is why it's so important to educate not only ourselves, but our children when it comes to financial literacy. Because when that child turns 18, that money, those stocks, those assets, all belong to them. Let's set our children up to succeed, especially when it comes to their financial future. A little money invested now will turn into a lot of money later on.
Here's how to make your kids rich before they turn 18. Hey stockbroker, I'd like to open up a custodial Roth IRA for 2 of my kids. Wow, a custodial Roth IRA. We don't see those every day. Yeah, well, just trying to safeguard their assets before they spend it all. You do know both your kids are going to have earned income to contribute to this, right? Of course, since I own an LLC, I have them working for me doing various tasks like laundry or even yard work. Perfect. Do you know what you want to contribute for 2022? Let's max them both out. And what are we going to be investing them in? Let's start this portfolio off with the full 6K, both going into ESGV. A great ETF. Do you know if you want to set up a DCA plan as well? You must be a licensed advisor or something. But yes, let's start a dollar cost averaging plan at $500 a month the next tax year. Your kids are going to be rich. Here's how to make
for your child is really any parent's goal, but how can you set up a custodial account to give your child a head start financially? First, what is a custodial account? In the US and many other countries, it is illegal for anyone under the age of 18 to actually invest. But it is legal for an adult to open up a brokerage account for a minor where the adult has full control of all the investment decisions. This is a custodial account, or you may also hear it be called an UGMA or an UTMA. And these accounts allow you to purchase investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and other types of investments for a minor. There are really 3 main benefits of opening up a custodial account. The first being that the minor actually owns the asset. The second is that the assets transfer to the minor between the ages of 18 and 25, depending on where you live. And the third is that the minors can have exposure to the financial markets, which provides a much higher return than, say, a savings account. One thing to consider is that custodial accounts do impact your financial aid eligibility. So if this is a concern, a college savings plan like a 529 or an ESA may be more beneficial for your situation. So how do you open one? Well, really, you just need to decide on the company that you want to open one with, and they'll really walk you through all the information you need to get one started. 3 big companies you can consider are Charles Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard. Hey, if you found this information helpful, like this video, comment any other questions that you may have, and follow me for more investing in money.
Open an investment account for my kids. I just don't know where to get started. Totally. Have you heard about custodial accounts or even a custodial IRA? I don't think so. What are those? A custodial brokerage account is an investment account in your name and your child's. So when they turn 18 or 21, depending on the state, they can take over the investment account. And if your child is old enough to work, they can contribute to a custodial Roth IRA. No way, a custodial Roth for kids? Yep, as long as the child is old enough to work and has earned income. In a custodial Roth, the money grows tax-free, contributions can be taken out at any time, and the earnings can grow until retirement, or some can even be taken out for something like a first-time home purchase. Wow, how do I set one up? You can talk to your brokerage about your options. Most major brokerages offer some type of custodial account.
Here are 3 steps you could take to set your kids up for incredible financial success. Number 1, when your child is born, put $1,000 into a brokerage account. Just consider this part of the expense of having a child. And if you can add more than $1,000, I would do it because these dollars are extremely valuable, and you're going to see why here in a second. Number 2, every single month, add $100 to that investment account. And you want to invest in something like an S&P 500 ETF, which has historically returned 10% to investors. Step 3, every birthday and every Christmas, add $250 to that account. This adds an additional $500 a year into that investment account. Now, here's where things get crazy, because if you got that 10% rate of return, by the time your child turned age 18, they would have $86,189 in that account. But here's the crazy part. After the age of 18, if you did not add another penny into that account, by the time they turned age 65, they would have $7.6 million into that account. Build generational wealth for your children.
My daughter has 2 financial accounts, and let me break down for you what she has. So the first one is a 529 college savings plan. So you contribute to this account using post-tax dollars, and all earnings are not subject to income tax as long as the money stays inside the account. And then when you take the money out to pay for qualified educational expenses, all withdrawals are not subject to federal income tax, and in many cases, state income tax as well. The second account that I have for my daughter is what's called a custodial brokerage account. This account is very similar to your regular brokerage account where you can buy stocks and options. It's set up by me and it's managed by me, but it will be turned over to my daughter after she reaches a certain age. You can open these accounts with pretty much any major financial institution. I use Fidelity, but you can use JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Charles Schwab. One thing to note is that there are gift tax rules for contributions for each beneficiary, and I believe in 2024 that number is $18,000 per parent. My daughter has 2.
I set my kids up before they were born the same way millionaires do. And guess what? It is dead simple. Let me show you how you can do exactly the same thing. So step 1, you're going to open a flexible 529 plan. I opened mine at Fidelity, but you can also open one at Vanguard, which is another great place to have a flexible 529 plan. I made myself the beneficiary before my son was born and started contributing to my 529 plan right away. The massive benefit here is that this is a tax-advantaged account. You can invest those dollars and your earnings grow tax-free, and your withdrawals are also not taxed as long as they're used for an education expense. Once my son was born, I transferred the 529 account to his name. Now we can use these funds for private school, college, or any other educational expense. But there's also another amazing way to use this if you're thinking to yourself, well, what if my kid doesn't go to college? Starting in 2024, beneficiaries of a 529 account can actually roll $35,000 inside the 529 account into a Roth IRA if they so choose. This means that you have an exit plan if your kids don't go to college. Follow Master Money for more ways you
the only 2 accounts that I would ever consider setting up for your children. One of these accounts could actually make them millionaires, and the other account could save you from being broke. I'm Tyler. I'm a former financial advisor and portfolio manager, and now I make financial content for free so that you don't have to pay for it. Number 1, the custodial Roth IRA. This is an incredible opportunity for your children. Each year, you can contribute up to the annual limit of post-tax dollars and invest it in a wide range of investment options. The only catch is that this money has to be legitimate earned income by your child. Mowing the lawn, doing some chores around the house, sorting your papers for your small business. The benefit? You put $7,000 in that account when they're young and invest it in low-cost index funds, and they could legitimately have $1 million waiting for them by the time they're 60. All for folding some clothes and doing some yard work. And remember that in any Roth, they or you can take back those contributions at any time, penalty and tax-free. Number 2, the 529 Education Savings Plan. And with some colleges charging over $90,000 a year right now, we could all use every single tax advantage we can get. Each year, you can contribute whatever you want. As with the 529, there is only an aggregate contribution limit that is usually just over $500,000, and it varies by state. This account offers tax-deferred growth and tax-free spending so long as it is on qualified educational expenses, tuition, room, board, books. And the best part of this account is that if your child decides not to go to college or does not use all of the funds, up to $35,000 of that money can be rolled over to a Roth IRA. The only big drawback of the 529 to me is that there are very limited investment options and they are controlled by the state. And if any of this is helpful, like and follow, and I will keep trying.
This is how I'm setting my baby up for financial success. When my baby is born, I'll set up a custodial investing account for them and I'll invest $1,000 into an ETF. Then every year I'm going to invest $1,000 into that account. But here's where it gets crazy. If I do this every year and assuming an 8% yearly return, by the time my kid is 18, they'll have over $40,000 in that account. But there's even more. If they leave that money in their account, by the time they're 65, they'll have $1.8 million without having to invest a single dollar, and I would have only contributed $19,000. Keep in mind these are just estimates and the actual results may be higher or lower. And you can do this too using Pearler, and you can use my code Queenie for a $20 credit.
There are three main ways that you can save for your kid's future. Number one is a 529 account. This is an investment account specifically designed for education expenses. So you contribute money, it grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free if used for qualified education expenses. So in 18 years, when college is $500,000 per year, you have some funds to make a small dent in it. If you don't use it for education expenses, there are taxes and potentially penalties on withdrawals. Number two is a custodial account. If you don't know if your kid is going to go to college, but instead wants to be an entrepreneur or a professional grifter, then a custodial account may be a better option. This is just a standard investment account that you can set up for free at Schwab or Vanguard, and ownership automatically transfers to the kid once they reach age 18. But earnings are not tax-free, so you will pay taxes on interest and dividends and any realized gains that you incur in a given year. But it does allow a little more flexibility with that money as opposed to a 529 plan. Number three is just a standard investment account that does not transfer to them at age 18. Instead, it's under your name and you can gift it to them later on when they're older. The nice thing about this option is that if your kid ends up being a degenerate, you can keep this money until they get their life sorted out. If the account is in your name, then it remains yours until you decide to gift it to your child. There really is no right or wrong answer here. What it comes down to is the opportunities that you want to provide for your unique child. You could even use a combination of all three. There are three main ways.
Hey broker, I'd like to invest $1,000 for Michelle Jr. Sure, what would you like to invest in? I'd like to put it into an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. You can think of an ETF as a way to own a small portion of a bunch of large companies. These have historically allowed you to earn 10% on your money each year on average. Then I'd also like to contribute $100 to this account each month. Sounds good. Based on my calculations, by the time Michelle Jr. is 18, she'll have $66,000 in this account. And if she never invests another penny into it, this will grow to be a whopping $4 million by the time she's 60 years old. Who taught you to do this for your child? Oh, I just follow Michelle for all things money.
If you're young and you're confused about stock investing and you just want the simplest strategy out there, here's the two things I would put my money into. All right, number one, SPY. Go into Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, or whatever brokerage you use and search this up. It tracks the S&P 500, which is just a fancy word for the 500 largest companies in the US. When you buy SPY, you essentially buy a little part of each of those 500 companies. So imagine that when you buy SPY, you get a basket of 500 eggs, the eggs being the company. You have every company in the basket. However, the size of the egg will vary depending on how big the company is. Microsoft and Apple's egg will be bigger because they're bigger companies in the S&P 500. However, you still have the small eggs, which represent the smaller companies. This is important because if one of those companies goes bankrupt, like if Apple or Microsoft goes bankrupt all of a sudden, not going to happen. But if they do, then your money is still intact. You still have your money spread across 499 companies. So when you invest in SPY, it automatically spreads your money across in this nature. All right, number two, QQM. This is essentially a basket of the largest 100 tech companies. Now, tech is a little bit more vulnerable to huge market swings, meaning that the price of QQM will go up and down rapidly throughout the years. However, if you believe that tech will be here in 15 to 20 years and be better, then it's okay to invest in this because over the long term, it will go up. If you're young and you want to take more risks, then put your money in QQM. If you're under the age of 50, then you should be okay with the market going up and down for the next 15 to 20 years. If you want to take less risks, then put most of your money into SPY, which is generally more stable. Don't buy huge amounts of these things all at once. Buy a little bit each week. Some weeks the price might be high, some weeks the price might be low. But over the long term, it should average out. Remember, it's going to take a while for your money to grow, but over the long term, it will. So start building up this muscle now. This is just what I'm doing. You have to make your own investment decisions. See you at the top. If you're
There's
young,
5 of the best ETFs for beginners. This is the easiest way to invest that's low maintenance, diversified, and proven to build wealth. The first one is VOO. It's a S&P 500 ETF. With this, you'll be investing in 500 of the biggest U.S. companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. The S&P 500 has averaged historically around 10% per year. Investing in this is easy. You can literally just set it and forget it. Number 2 is VTI. This is a total stock market ETF. This is going to give you even more diversification because it's the entire stock market, which includes some of the small and even mid-sized companies. So it's kind of like the first ETF, except you get exposure to more companies before they make it really big. Number 3 is QQQ. This is the NASDAQ 100 ETF. If you believe in the future of technology and innovation, this is the ETF for you. It focuses on the top 100 tech companies, stocks like Apple, Google, Tesla. This specific ETF is more growth focused, which means higher risk, but also higher potential return. Number 4 is SCHD. This is a dividend growth ETF. This ETF holds strong dividend paying companies, meaning these companies are going to grow, but they also going to pay you a dividend on top of that. So this is a great option for long-term wealth and passive income. And then number 5 is VXUS. It's an international ETF. This one is going to give you exposure to global companies. I want you to think Europe, Asia, other emerging markets. So this is going to add a little bit more diversification to your portfolio in case like the US stock market takes a dip. If I had to choose one that was well-rounded, I would probably go with VOO or VTI. But if you want to focus on growth, then I would probably go with QQQ. For passive income and cash flow, I would go with SCHD, and then maybe add VXUS in the portfolio just to diversify.
There are 3 steps you could take to set your kids up for incredible financial success. Number 1, when your child is born, put $1,000 into a brokerage account. Just consider this part of the expense of having a child. And if you can add more than $1,000, I would do it because these dollars are extremely valuable, and you're going to see why here in a second. Number 2, every single month, add $100 to that investment account. And you want to invest in something like an S&P 500 ETF, which has historically returned 10% to investors. Step 3, every birthday and every Christmas, add $250 to that account. This adds an additional $500 a year into that investment account. Now, here's where things get crazy, because if you got that 10% rate of return, by the time your child turned age 18, they would have $86,189 in that account. But here's the crazy part. After the age of 18, if you did not add another penny into that account, by the time they turned age 65, they would have $7.6 million into that account. Build generational wealth for your children.
Want your child to be a millionaire without having to actually give them $1 million? Here's how it's done. Deposit $2,000 into a brokerage account on the day that your child is born. Invest in low-cost index funds and never deposit another dime. You will have $1 million by 65. Or deposit that same $2,000 into a brokerage account the day they're born, then continue to deposit $100 a month into that same account until they're 18. Have them take over the monthly contributions. They're probably a millionaire by 45. Or have your child start working for you at age 8. Pay them $200 a month for their work into a Roth IRA. They'll have about $38,000 by the age of 18 and a couple $1 million by the age of 65. And they'll hopefully know more about the value of a dollar earned. Want your child to be a millionaire without having to actually give them $1 million? Here's how it's done. Deposit $2,000 into a brokerage account on the day that your child is born. Invest in low-cost index funds and never deposit another dime. You will have $1 million by 65. Or deposit that same $2,000 into a brokerage account the day they're born, then continue to deposit $100 a month into that same account until they're 18. Have them take over the monthly contributions. They're probably a millionaire by 45. Or have your child start working for you at age 8. Pay them $200 a month for their work into a Roth IRA. They'll have about $38,000 by the age of 18 and a couple $1 million by the age of 65. And they'll hopefully know more about the value of a dollar earned.
If you want your kids to be filthy rich, it's surprisingly simple and tax-free. Hey, could I invest $6,000 for my son? Yes, I would love to take your money. Let's invest some in some safe mutual funds. Well, mutual funds have high fees. I want to make him rich, not you. Darn, then I guess you want to buy index funds? Correct, and I want to buy these in a custodial Roth IRA account for him. Wow, your son is going to profit tax-free because of that. Yeah, if I keep doing this, he'll have over $10 million in his retirement account. All tax-free. Follow to learn more.
Here's how I'm setting up my 2-year-old to have a 6-figure net worth by the time he turns 10 in 5 simple steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is make him an employee of my business. I'm going to pay him $12,000 a year to help me clean my office. And the best part is he doesn't have to pay any taxes on that because it's below $12,000, and I can also use it as a business write-off. The second thing I'm going to do is open up a Roth IRA for him. He's going to take the income that I'm paying him and then contribute the max of $6,500 per year. He can then throw that into an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, which has historic returns of 10% per year. The third thing he'll do is open up a high yield savings account. So the other $5,500 from his income, we're going to put into a high yield savings account like Wealthfront, which is currently returning 4.55% APY. The fourth step is we're going to start investing into real estate. So we're going to find a property that can generate a minimum of $2,000 a month in cash flow. The fifth and the most important step is to teach him financial literacy. Unfortunately, our current school system has taught us nothing about this. I'm going to teach him everything that I know about investing, becoming a great leader, and becoming a successful entrepreneur. Helping my son and my future kids become successful is one of the most important goals in my life. So this will be a great boost to set him up for life, and you should do the same. Here's how I'm setting up my 2-year-old to have.
These are 5 of the highest paying dividend stocks that are going to pay you every single month. And if you don't know what a dividend is, it's basically when you make your initial investment into a stock and that company will pay you a percentage for keeping your money in that stock. And a lot of these companies, they pay quarterly, but the 5 I'm about to give you, these will pay you every single month. So number 1, we got Apple Hospitality REIT. This company has a PE ratio of 17 and a dividend yield of 6.6. PE ratio, that's price to earnings ratio, by the way. Number 2, EPR Properties. This company has a PE ratio of 19 and a dividend yield of 7.7%. Some nice yields. Number 3, Ellington Financial. It's got a PE ratio of 9.4% and a dividend yield of 13.3%. Now we're talking about some real dough. Number 4, Armor Residential REIT. PE ratio of 7.7 and a dividend yield of 15.72%. And number 5, we've got AG&C Investment, PE ratio 6.4 and an annual dividend of 15.5%. So, like I said, these are going to pay you every single month. Some will pay you quarterly, but we're not talking about those. These 5 are going to give you dividend pay every single month. All right, if you got $1,000 to invest, this is how you can create passive income. All right, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to take $400 and you're going to put that into an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. Now, this would be something like VOO or SPY. Now, why you're going to do this is because this is going to give you ownership into 500 of the biggest companies in the United States. And historically, it grows around 10% every year. All right, the next thing you're going to do, we're going to get into tech. All right, so you're going to take $300 and you're going to invest that in an ETF that tracks the NASDAQ 100. Now, this is going to give you stake in major tech giants like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, and some of the fastest growing companies in the United States. And this is where you're going to collect passive income. All right, so you're going to take $200 and you're going to put this in a high dividend ETF like SCHD or VYM. Now, these pay cash dividends regularly, meaning you can literally get paid just for holding on to it. Next, you're going to take $100 and put that in a high yield savings account and just let that sit just so you can have some liquid cash. And it should earn about 4 to 5% interest. So yeah, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just my opinion. So if you're looking to make some passive income, if you got $1,000 to invest, might want to try it out.
So today I did something for my son that I wish my parents had done for me to be able to build generational wealth. But the only reason they probably didn't do it is because they didn't know any better. So if you love your kids and you want to build generational wealth, don't say you don't know any better if you watch the rest of this video. What we did is we opened up 2 custodial bank accounts for him today. One's a savings account and one's a brokerage account. Now, a custodial account just simply means that a minor owns it, but the parents or at least some adult manages it and funds it. What we plan on doing with these accounts is starting off his wealth journey right. And I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to do this. We opened them up with just $50 each, so a total of $100. And then I automated $100 to go into his account every single paycheck. So in a year, he'll have about $2,400 into his brokerage account. By the way, a brokerage account is just simply an account that you can buy and sell stocks. And that's exactly what we're going to do for him. I'm going to invest in low-cost index funds from now all the way up until he's about 18 years old. And since he's so young, it's really hard to shop for him. So when people ask us what he wants for his birthday or what he wants for Christmas, I'm literally going to send them his Zelle account. He already has an email. Go ahead and transfer him $100 so you can help build his wealth. A brokerage account is very lenient. You can pull the money out when you want to. So I imagine when he's 16 years old and it's time for us to buy him a car, we'll use some of this money that we've invested for him to be able to make that big purchase. One really cool money lesson is we can tell him, hey, you've got $20,000 in this account. Now you can decide to go buy a beater for $2,500 like I did when I was a kid, or you can buy a $10,000 car, or you can go and finance a really expensive car because you got the money for it. I don't think I'm going to let him do that last one, but it's technically his money when it's in that account. I've got a lot of ideas that I would love for him to do with it once he's an adult, but it is his money. Only thing that I plan on doing is teaching him what I know and what someone didn't teach me when I was younger. If you have a young one, whether it's your kid or someone else's, you can open a custodial bank account for them today. Just about any bank will let you do it. You open up an account, put their information in along with yours, you can fund it, and then you give them access to it whenever you want to. Using the brokerage account like we're doing simply makes it to where you can invest and that money grows rather than just sitting in a savings account. Happy to share this information. Send this to a spouse, send this to your parent if you think that it would have been nice if they knew this information, and then send it to someone else that you think has kids that may want this information.